It's been 6 months since Lewis Hamilton stunned the world by joining Ferrari, but one nagging frustration from his early days in red just refused to go away, until now. At the Belgian Grand Prix, that lingering issue that had quietly been eating away at Hamilton since pre-season was finally resolved. And the twist? It wasn't team boss Fred Vasseur who made it happen. In fact, Vasseur had previously shut it down. But now, Ferrari has overruled that decision and granted Hamilton the one request he'd been chasing for half a year. It's a game-changing move that shows just how much power Hamilton now holds within Maranello, and it might just be the first real sign that Ferrari is becoming his team. So what was this request? And why was it such a big deal? Let's break it down. Hamilton had long pointed out that the cockpit design of his last 3 Mercedes cars placed him further forward than he had ever been in his entire career. He felt this unusual positioning made it harder to sense and control the rear of the car, a critical factor during his peak years with Mercedes, where a stable rear end was the foundation of his dominance. Ferrari's 2025 car took a different approach. Compared to the layout used by Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc the previous season, the cockpit was moved further back. As a result, the engine and fuel tank also shifted rearwards. According to former F1 designer Gary Anderson, this design choice may have reduced the available space ahead of the gearbox, which in turn could have affected the efficiency of the pull rod rear suspension system. Remarkably, Ferrari seemed to take a step backward with the SF25, despite the previous car emerging as the class of the field over the final 6 races of last season. From Singapore to Abu Dhabi, the Scuderia erased a 74-point deficit to McLaren, cutting it down to just 14 points by the end of the year, a stunning resurgence that had many expecting a stronger follow-up. The most significant change heading into 2025 was Ferrari's decision to abandon their traditional push-rod front suspension in favour of a pull-rod setup. This switch enabled the team to incorporate more aggressive anti-dive characteristics into the car's design. While the results so far haven't paid off, insiders believe this move was less about immediate gains and more about preparing the groundwork for the 2026 regulations. However, the shift to a rearward cockpit layout created new headaches. As highlighted by Ferrari's double disqualification in China for running the car too low, the geometry adjustments have introduced complications. With limited space for the rear damper, the car has struggled to maintain consistent ride height, increasing wear on the wooden plank underneath and raising concerns about compliance. Recent images from Ferrari's private test at Mugello after the British Grand Prix hint at a major upgrade package arriving for the Belgian Grand Prix. What we can see is that Ferrari has also increased the anti-lift on the rear suspension top wishbone forward leg, notes ex-F1 designer Gary Anderson, pointing to subtle but significant changes aimed at regaining control of the car's balance and ride dynamics. Increasing the anti-lift on the rear suspension, as Mercedes also introduced with their Imola upgrade, does exactly what it promises. It keeps the rear end more planted under braking. This provides crucial stability during deceleration and turn-in phases, exactly the kind of confidence the driver needs when pushing to the limit into corners. For Ferrari, this upgrade is all about curing one of the SF25's biggest weaknesses, rear-end instability. It's an issue Lewis Hamilton has been vocal about not just this year, but since the arrival of ground-effect cars in 2022. The lack of rear grip has been a persistent thorn in his side, and finally, Ferrari appears to be delivering a fix that could transform his confidence behind the wheel. But it's not just Hamilton who stands to benefit. Charles Leclerc has openly admitted that qualifying, once his standout strength, has been falling apart this season. After another underwhelming session at Silverstone, Leclerc didn't hold back. "I'm not doing the job," he said bluntly. "Since the beginning of the season, I've been performing very well in the races, and there aren't many I'd go back and change. But qualifying, which used to be my strong point, just isn't clicking anymore. We've had good sessions, but not great ones." With the new suspension changes aimed at rear stability, Ferrari might be solving not just Hamilton's long-standing gripe, but also helping Leclerc rediscover the one-lap brilliance that once made him Ferrari's ultimate weapon on Saturdays. "This used to be my strength. I'm not happy with the level I'm showing," admitted a visibly frustrated Charles Leclerc. "In qualifying, we've got issues for sure, particularly from Q2 onwards. We've been fighting with something inside the car, but it's not an excuse. I need to be better." For a driver once hailed as one of the fastest over a single lap, Leclerc's 2025 qualifying form has been anything but convincing. With 26 career pole positions, representing over 16% of all his race starts, his sharp Saturday edge has dulled dramatically. In fact, he has yet to start from pole this entire season, with his last coming all the way back in Baku, 2024. This year, his average starting position has slipped to 6.62, over a full grid slot worse than last season's numbers. Still, in the head-to-head battle against his new teammate, Leclerc leads the qualifying scoreline 8-4 and holds a small but consistent edge of 0.168 seconds on average per session over Hamilton. That might seem like a solid performance, especially considering Hamilton holds the record for the most pole positions in F1 history. But when compared to George Russell's commanding 19-5 qualifying advantage over Hamilton in their final year together at Mercedes, Leclerc's margin looks far more fragile. For a driver once regarded as Ferrari's one-lap master, the numbers show a worrying trend, and the pressure is only building. At Silverstone, Lewis Hamilton offered some pointed advice to his new team about the path forward with development. "We have low-speed understeer, which is inherent with this car," he explained to the media. "I think we're overdriving to get that extra bit of time, but on actual pure pace, the car is as quick as those ahead." He went on to add, "We're probably having to do a little bit too far, which is making the car a bit more peaky, so we need to find a little bit more performance." Hamilton's comments not only highlight the car's balance issues, but also hint at a broader challenge. Pushing too hard to extract lap time often leads to inconsistent handling, particularly in the corners where the car already struggles. The upcoming upgrade package for Spa appears to directly address Hamilton's concerns. With a more stable rear end, the car should allow for later braking and a smoother, more predictable turn-in, all critical elements in qualifying, where every corner must be executed to perfection. And while this change is designed with Hamilton's preferences in mind, it could inadvertently unlock better one-lap performance for Charles Leclerc as well, who has struggled to recapture his past qualifying brilliance. However, when major upgrades start leaning toward one driver's style, the balance within a team can shift. If Hamilton finds a surge in confidence and form while Leclerc continues to search for answers, questions will inevitably arise about whether Ferrari is beginning to shape the SF25 more around its new superstar than its long-standing talisman. This change, of course, would be significant. In modern Formula One, the era of strictly equal machinery has been fading, replaced instead by more nuanced development hierarchies where lead drivers subtly shape the car's DNA. With Hamilton's unparalleled experience and data-driven feedback loop, Ferrari could be leaning into a model where one voice carries more weight in shaping performance. With sweeping new regulations coming into force next season, every top team is already laying foundations for a radically different future. Ferrari's decision to integrate key changes like rearward cockpit repositioning, a pull rod suspension philosophy, and now more aggressive anti-lift characteristics hints at a test-and-learn strategy using the SF25 as a developmental blueprint for next year. Hamilton's feedback, therefore, doesn't just influence the present, it's helping sculpt the future. This could very well be the prototype year for what becomes Ferrari's 2026 title challenger. Do you think Ferrari is starting to build their future around Lewis Hamilton? And if so, where does that leave Charles Leclerc? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, goodbye for now.